Well, thanks so much for joining us here at Harvest Online. If you'd do us a favor, click that subscribe button. That would be fantastic. That way you can get new content as we upload it. Also, just to let you know, Harvest Church exists so that all people may know Jesus and grow with him. If you'd like to follow us on the socials, harvest.247, exactly how you found us here on YouTube, on Facebook, and Instagram. We would love for you to follow us and check out all the things that are going on around Harvest Church. We are in the middle of a series called I Am, where we're exploring the 7 I Am statements of Jesus made in the book of John. And so today we're going to talk about one that's called I Am the Gate. But before we get there, I want to tell you a story. It's kind of a funny story now. It wasn't a funny story then. But when we lived in Colorado, there were these things called 14ers, meaning there's 14,000 foot mountains. There's actually 58 of them in the state of Colorado. And it's kind of a recreational activity to say, hey, can we go climb all of them? Well, we started climbing them. When I talk about I'm talking about myself and some other people in our church there. We started climbing them. We got to like 30 in 3.5 years. And so that was really cool. But we had some friends visiting and they wanted to go hike a 14er. And so, of course, we all loaded up and went to hike Mount Princeton, including my wife. And so we get on Mount Princeton. I'm like, it's an easy trail. There's not going to be any problem with this. It's no problem at all. Well, as we got into it, there's this stuff called scree, that the majority of the route up was scree. And what scree is, it's loose rock. And every time you take a step up, it makes your foot slide. So it is very difficult to navigate. So we finally get to the top and we're coming down. Everybody's having a miserable time. And we all of a sudden see a storm coming. We're coming down off the side of the mountain. We see this storm rolling in. And my wife looks at me and she says, is there any way off this mountain other than going back through the trail? I mean, we were still on the side of like the peak of the mountain. I said, honey, the only way is right through there. Have you ever been in a situation where you wish that there was another way out? You took a job with great expectation, but soon found out it isn't all that it was cracked up to be. You got into a relationship and realized, dang, I wish there was another way out. Or you were on a long road trip and a storm came and it was either raining, it was raining so hard that you couldn't see and you're on a highway that you don't know and you're thinking, I wish there was another way out. Well, all of us have been in those types of circumstances. All of us have been in a situation where we wish that there was a way out. Well, here's the problem, though. We run up against a philosophy that the world has. And here's some things. In our world today, we see and experience the same thing, but oftentimes we wish there was another way through. Trials, seasons, rules. We wish there was a way around them. We wish there was a way to shortcut them. We try to hope that we can get around difficulty. And what we do is create our own path to where we want to get while also getting what we want. And that's a whole lot of what we do. We try to avoid the things that we don't like. We try to avoid circumstances that we don't like. And we try to get to the same destination, but do it in a way that we get what we want in the way that we want. It's called having your cake and eating it too. And to some degree, we've done that with Jesus and his identity and his significance and how we get to heaven. We try to navigate around and say, well, I like what Jesus says over here, what Jesus does over here, but I'm just going to forget what Jesus says over here because it doesn't support the direction that I want to go, right? So we have this world philosophy where just like on a mountain, just like on that bad job or that bad relationship, right, or that road trip that's just not going so well, we wish there was another way through. Well, Jesus actually has something to say about that in John chapter 10. And here's how we're going to start it. He says this, truly, truly, I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs in by another way, that man is a thief and a robber. So Jesus, right, it's following this kind of like thematically through John's gospel after this great conflict with religious leaders. And so it's like they have this conflict, and now Jesus is over here to the side talking to his followers, and he's talking to them about people who try to navigate and get around in a different way. They are thieves and robbers. The religious leaders had shown themselves to be unhelpful and cruel to the man, his parents, and the common people in general that Jesus felt it necessary to talk about the contrast between his heart and the work as a leader to God's people and the heart of those people who work, many, the religious leaders of his day. So he's trying to determine about the heart. He's talking about that the religious leader's heart is one way, but a true good shepherd, a true person who cares about them, and Jesus' heart specifically, is another way. Jesus explained that not everyone among the sheep is a true shepherd. Some are like thieves and robbers. The idea is that there is a specific way, a door, a proper way to gain entry, that not everyone who stands among the sheep goes in that way. Some climb in by another way, and to be really cautious of those people. See, the religious leaders gained their place among God's people, the sheep, through personal and political connections, through formal education, through ambition, through manipulation, and through corruption. And we can see the very same thing in churches today. We see political issues behind the scenes in the church. We see personal ambition in the church. We see manipulation. We see corruption. We see all of those types of things, not only in pastors and leaders, but we also see that in people in the church. And so Jesus is basically just saying, guys, there's a certain way to get to be a shepherd, and that people who try to bend the rules and go around the other way, people who try to have their cake and eat it too within the church, those are people that we really need to be cautious with, because they seem to be like thieves and robbers. Now you might say to them, well, why is Jesus talking about this? Well, one, he's comparing the Pharisees and the Sadducees to a true shepherd. But another way in this conversation, what he's doing is he's setting up the I am statement, because Jesus is letting them know that there's one way through, and that we're not supposed to deviate through in order to get into the kingdom. There's one way through. And so Jesus follows this up in verse 7, and he says this, truly, truly, I say to you, and here it is, I am the door of the sheep. All who came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not listen to them. Here he is again. I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find pasture. The thief only comes to steal and kill and destroy. I came, and this picks up on last week from what John said and what Jesus wrote and what Jesus said and what John wrote. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. So Jesus is saying, guys, if you want to go through and you want to go out to pasture, if you want to have a life and have it abundantly, if you want to get on into and be in the kingdom, there's only one way through, and it's through Jesus. The thief implies this deception and trickery. It implies violence and destruction. And what Jesus is saying is he's kind of saying that these take away life, but me, the gate, I give life. The door for those sheep pens was the shepherd himself, right? In that time, he would lay his body across the entrance to keep the sheep in and to keep out the wolves. So a good shepherd is one who protects his sheep at the door to keep out the bad things and to protect all of the sheep in there. The shepherd was in fact the door in that time in shepherding. He was the way, he was the protector, he was the provider, and he was the one who saved his sheep. Jesus talks about this abundance of life. It comes from a mathematical term that means surplus. So when Jesus talks about having an abundant life, he's saying that you're going to have a surplus. Now, some people might take this and say, oh, I'm going to have a surplus of funds. I'm going to have a surplus of trophies. No, that's not what he's saying. You're not going to have a surplus of cars. You might, but you may not. But what he's saying is that in me and through me, I am the door. I'm the door to the gate. I'm the door to having a life of surplus spiritually, to having a surplus of joy, to having a surplus of peace, to having a surplus of love, to having a surplus of gentleness, to having a surplus of self-control, to having a surplus of kindness, That I am the way through that, and to have that abundant life, not only that's lived here today, but having that surplus of amazing life that's lived in the afterlife. Jesus is saying there's no other way but through me. And we live in a world today that tries to tell us that there's all these types of ways to get to heaven. There's all these types of ways, to get to God. And some of them actually seem really good. Some of them are, well, if you do enough good things, if you give enough good things, if you do all of that kind of stuff. And that sounds pretty good, right? Because if we do good things, we get rewarded, right? Like if we do good on our test, we get a high grade. If we have a good season, we get a trophy, right? If we have a good year, we get a raise. And so we're kind of conditioned in that. But Jesus is saying that's not how to get to me. I'm the way. I'm the gate. It's the belief in me is the only way to get you to the pasture. Some other places in the world will say, well, all the religions are basically the same. All the religions are kind of the same. So there's multiple paths to get to God. So there's not just really one path. Jesus is saying, no. The ones that go around the gate door, they are thieves, they are robbers, they are filled with deception and trickery. Jesus is saying, I'm the way, right? I'm the way, I'm the truth, I'm the life. We're going to talk about that in a couple of weeks. Because the reality is that not all of the religions are the same. Christianity is different from one word, and it's grace. It's because God gave us unmerited favor through his son Jesus, who died on the cross and rose 3 days later. So Christianity is philosophically completely different than all of the other world religions that say, well, you got to do enough and you got to have enough good tick marks versus bad tick marks, or you have to hurt yourself and you have to do sacrifices. And no, Jesus was the one sacrifice. So Jesus is kind of saying, listen, guys, I am the gate. I am the way through. I'm the way through to having abundant life. Jesus is the door to abundant life. And here's the deal. Abundant life sheep honor the shepherd. So Jesus is the door to abundant life, and abundant life sheep honor the shepherd. That's what they do. People who understand who Jesus is, we live a life that honors the shepherd. We honor the protector. We honor the provider. We honor him. And so there's a couple of, a message for both the unbeliever and a believer here. The first is that Jesus is the door to the abundant life. What Jesus is communicating is that there is no other way to salvation except through him. The shepherd is the door. Jesus is the way. That's it. The path to abundant life today and eternally is Jesus. Jesus said it this way, like we're going to do in a couple of weeks. I am the way, I'm the truth, and I'm the life. It's not for your good deeds. It's not because you gave a lot. It's not because you're a good person. All these other philosophies, all the other ways, all of these other thoughts, all the other thieves and robbers of the world, they come close, but they are not me. Jesus said, I am. I am the door. I am the door of the sheep, and all who pass through me get to go to heaven. All who pass through me get to experience abundant life today. And the question is, do you believe that? Because if you can put your faith in Jesus, we believe that not only will you go through the door, which is Jesus, and you will get to heaven, but you'll experience life abundantly, a surplus, not necessarily of material possessions, but a surplus of spiritual inheritance, to experience God, to have a relationship with him. But the message for believers is this. He said, abundant life sheep honor the shepherd, right? Abundant life sheep honor the shepherd. There's a responsibility for those who are sheep. People say, well, what's my purpose in life? Well, if you're a follower of Jesus, guess what? To be a good sheep. That's what your purpose in life is to be a good sheep. We are to follow well and honor the shepherd in our obedience to his call. We're to honor the shepherd by the conduct of our lives, by the direction of our lives, by the intentionality of our lives. We're to honor the shepherd by serving him, and our lives are to serve him. And in that process, we get abundant life. By giving our life away, we gain life. When Jesus gave his life away, he gave us a way to gain life. Yeah, it's kind of like that song, right? This little light of mine. I'm going to let it shine. I'm not going to sing it, but this little light of mine. And it says, hide it under a bushel. No, I'm going to let it shine. I'm not going to let Satan blow it out. I'm going to let it shine. And for some of us today that have been following Jesus, we need to understand that abundant life sheep honor the shepherd, and we shouldn't hide that light under a bushel. We shouldn't let the enemy blow that out, because we are to let our light shine before the world, right? And let them know that Jesus is the gate, that Jesus is the way to eternal life and life abundantly, a surplus here on earth, because Jesus is the door to abundant life. And abundant life sheep honor the shepherd. God bless you.